Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to the Cornwall Property Podcast, where every week we bring you the latest news, hot topics and guidance around the Cornwall property market.
Stay tuned to be informed, inspired and to have any of your property related questions answered by trusted local property professionals.
Here we are, episode 17.
Back once again, good to be here.
Welcome back to the Cornwall Property Podcast. Thank you for joining us once again if it's your first time. I am Dan.
I am James.
And we are here to help inform, educate, inspire you on all things property with a particular emphasis on the Cornwall property market.
Indeed.
So without further ado, this episode is all about market updates. James and I will give you some information on basically news topics within property, within the country, and any topics that are relevant to us down here in Cornwall. And then James will be giving us his news updates as well with regards more of a lending kind of sphere, isn't it, James, with yourself?
Yeah, more financials. That's the general direction I go in.
Perfect. And then we will both pick our property of the week. One being a commercial, one being a residential that is currently empty, derelict, somewhere that we can bring some property back to the Cornish market.
Yeah, we've got some belters this week, haven't we, Dan?
Yes, we sure have, and definitely recommend you watching this on YouTube when we get to there particularly. So, James, how can people get in touch?
Yep, you can certainly get in contact with us. You can go to the cornwallpropertypodcast.com online and go to the bottom of the front page screen there, and you can send us a message that way. But many of you already do it this way, but come to us on social media, on Facebook, on the Cornwall Property Podcast, on our Facebook page, and send us a message there. But anything you've got, just get in touch. But many of you do, so thank you to everybody who always does.
Thank you very, very much. So I'm going to kick us off, get the ball rolling. So one of the two stories I've picked out this week is from Hometrack. So Hometrack does house price indexes, gives you updates on what the market is like nationally and regionally. So this really caught my eye. And as we know, property has had an unprecedented year last year. And a lot of people thought and predicted that this year it would slow down quite a bit, but just some really interesting facts and figures just to kick us off here. So the Hometrack's latest house price index, which has revealed that the average house price is up 7.8% from the 12 months leading up to January. So again, no real surprises there, but the bit that obviously we're a bit more interested in was being in the southwest region. Breaking it further down, so that's 7.8% and this increase in the last 12 months, we're actually quite surprised to learn that Wales has had the biggest increase. It's taken a top spot with the biggest increase of 11.7%.
Wow.
Growth year on year. And we came as a second with regards to the rate. And the Southwest has seen a 9.7% average price increase over the last 12 months. So yeah, really, really, really interesting stuff. So these are figures that are very well backed up with regional information and national information. So yeah, thoughts on that one, James?
Well, it's massive. We knew last year was going to be huge anyway, but where you're sort of nearing on 10%, I don't think anybody would be too disappointed with that. And you can see why it's still quite an attractive place to invest as well. I know Cornwall Property Podcast is all about, providing homes for the locals and sorting out the housing crisis, but, people in Cornwall can certainly do that, but also outside investors. At the end of the day, for us, as we see, if you're still sorting out those unencumbered houses, it doesn't really matter where the investment has come from, but it's still a very good return, isn't it? Massively for capital growth, like you've just said. Massively,
and that's another thing, isn't it? It's just a case of saying, well, where else could you get a solid 9-10% growth? And again, this is not year on year forever. It obviously comes in peaks and troughs, but a lot of people say, well, I've missed the boat now. There's no point getting into property now because all the biggest increases have gone. Well, no, I completely disagree with you, because like the last recession, 2008, if you were to buy in 2007 or 6 perhaps, as we've touched upon in other podcasts, although you would have seen a little increase of 5% maybe in the 2006 year you entered the market, and 2007 it pretty much plateaued and it still was rising. So even if you got another couple percent that following year, sort of, you've had a 5-7% increase. Well, when the actual crash hit, it went down about 11%. Well, it's not 11% for you, is it? Because you entered 7% or 6% earlier, sort of thing. So the best time to get involved with property was yesterday.
Absolutely.
So I think if there's any way you can get yourself in there, into the market, definitely do so. And there's ways that you can get control of property to build some cash flow without having to own them as well. And they're things that we can touch upon previously in future podcast episodes. But I think property is just such a good vehicle for investment, short and long term.
Yeah, no, and you've just hit the words there. It is long term, and a lot of our viewers and listeners, they are investing in property for the long term. If you want to make a quick buck, You can do, but the risks are higher because you can never predict what the market's, going to do, but you can still do flips and things like that. But, even if the market does take a bit of a downturn, as long as you're holding on to these properties, then, you just hold on tight and wait for it to come back round again on the property cycle, which we've talked about many times on its, 18-year sort of round journey, really. So, yeah, it's a great investment, and that's why we have this podcast as well as helping the people in Cornwall.
Definitely. And on the contrary to that news article, I've got another one from This Is Money. And again, all of the links to these news articles are on the show notes. So if anyone wants to look into them in a little bit more detail, you can access the links to the articles on our show notes. So the second one that caught my eye, and alarmingly, and again, it's focusing on Wales initially, but as I said, the Welsh market and the Scottish market with regards to regulations and things, they do work a little bit differently to ourselves in England, but we normally end up following suit quite a lot of the time. So it's it'll be interesting, but hopefully not necessarily this one. So let me get to the article. So council tax clampdown on second homeowners. So this is what they're looking to do in Wales. They're looking to raise the council tax 300%, and the concerns of holiday home demand is how that is driving down or up house prices rapidly, and availability is going down. So their way of trying to steer people away from buying second homes is by penalising them with a triple the council tax fee. Staggering figures when you think about some of these council tax payments as well, and how they could be penalised. So to give you a little bit more information, the cap has been raised from its current 100% level. So if you own a property, second home, currently it would be 100%, just normal council tax rate as if it was your only home. However, if this was going to be your second home, so you live somewhere else, this was a second home, a holiday home or something like that, you would then get council tax 3 times that amount, so 300%. So there's the amount that was paid on more than 23,000 second homes and long-term empty properties. So that's what they're trying to do. We have mentioned it previously, Cornwall. Here, for example, if your property is it 2 years, James? Is it 2 years? If it's empty 2 years or more, you get double the council tax, isn't it?
2 years here in Cornwall.
So if you've had an empty property for 2 years, you'll get starting to be charged double the council tax as an incentive to get that let. So what they're trying to do here is deter people from buying a second home by charging them at 3 times the usual amount. So the new level of 300% council tax will be applied from April next year, with individual councils deciding on exactly the amount and where they should cap this on. So this is just to reiterate, this is Welsh market that this is happening at the moment. But we've had a similar kind of issue down here, haven't we? A lot of people kicking off with them second home owners during COVID and things like that, where they may have owned a second home, and now they've realised that, well, now they come and stay down here, that they can actually work from here. So they have got as a second home options and things like that. So people are similarly in a negative viewpoint in the Cornwall second home market. But the announcement follows growing popularity in rural coastal areas in Wales, such as the Pembrokeshire and the Brecon Beacons. So these are the areas that have initiated this. Maybe you could argue St Ives being one of ours in Cornwall. But yeah, alarming findings. I think it's quite small-minded to do this sort of triple tax. What do you think?
Again, as often as I say, Dan, it can be a double-edged sword. I can totally understand if somebody, let's put Cornwall, it's the Cornwall Property Podcast, let's put a home here that somebody has bought from London. They're going to use it for 2 weeks of the year in the summer, and the rest of the time it's going to be completely empty. If you get one area that has loads of those houses, then who pays the binman to do everything? Because they need to make the money back, don't they? And it's not really fair on locals. Of course it's not. You hear about these little areas in Cornwall where in the winter months it's just no one there and all the lights are off. It's absolutely dead. Then you just see it for Christmas and literally it is like a Christmas tree. All the lights light up. They've come down for that 1 week. So I think there should be something. I'm not necessarily saying it should go up 300%, but for unencumbered properties where there are locals desperate to try and find somewhere to live, and someone has just bought a holiday home to come down for a couple of days, a couple of weeks of the year, then definitely I think they should be penalised for it. On the flip side of that, you also are having investors that are doing holiday lets. Now, we're all about kind of locals with this property podcast, and I'm not saying that, all the holiday lets are great, that type of stuff, but what I am starting to see is people who have holiday lets here, they are switching over to business rates, and the only way that you can switch over to business rates if you make the property available for more than 300 days per year. So it is like it's a full-time business. But leading leading on from that, I'm also seeing a lot of people that have, holiday lets that they do let them out in the summer, but in the winter months they do 6-month lets to locals. So they're actually starting to get, not so much flack at the moment because, they're making it available and they don't want to have a bad name with it as well. But I think in principle, if you're going to buy a property and you're only going to go 2 weeks of the year and it's going to be empty, then you should have to pay more, is my view. Because it's not fair.
And I echo that definitely, and particularly with the view that if there's a house there no one's living in, well, we know that the Cornwall housing crisis currently, we need homes for locals. So it just seems criminal to have a house that's empty if it can be filled. So I do really, I emphasise the point that they should be penalised if you're gonna have a house here in Cornwall and it's not being used and it's empty, it's not good. But if you are going to be using it, as you've said, for 300 odd days, etc., a year, then they're fair enough. Then I still feel if that's a second home, that might be a little bit harsh with 300%.
Yeah.
But, it's just an interesting fact. Again, it's not happening here yet. Nothing is mentioned. I just really thought it was an interesting one because the Welsh and Scottish kind of regulations and legislation around property generally do kind of lead the way. It's just one that caught my eye.
Watch this space.
James, what have we got for us?
Yeah, so I've got some more of the financial stuff. I'm always trying to find, interesting articles. And as always, guys, to our viewers and listeners, we're not financial advisors. Always do seek professional advice when looking at finance for property and that type of stuff. But I've got a couple of headlines here. We all know at the moment that we're living in quite difficult times, politically with the world, what's going on across the road. And we've got this as a headline: cost of living likely to ease mortgage demand, according to UK finance. So what's been said here is both new mortgage affordability and extra borrowing through refinancing are likely to take a hit this year, UK finance has stated in the Household Review. So what I'm starting to read at the moment is that inflation, we're trying, with the pandemic, we've been trying to level it out, but everything that's going on, with the war that's going on over in Ukraine at the moment and with Russia, what is happening is that we're feeling the knock-on effect with that, with the cost of living. The electric bills are going up. Everybody already knows, they've had those horrible letters where, electric bills are going to be going up by 54% on the 1st of April. And, people in Cornwall, lots of people are on oil tanks, and oil is going up. I actually filled up for one of my properties the other day, and, I was almost paying double than what I was 2 years ago. So it's quite frightening times. But with that frightening times, the mortgage lenders are seeing that people are not having as much disposable income at the moment. So when they're doing their stress tests, they look at people's personal earnings where they maybe had, let's call it £700 left over after all their bills are paid. Well, that's being shrunk right the way down to like sort of, £200-300 because they're having to spend more money on, just living costs to survive. So it's not great times at the moment in terms of and the lenders are, basically cottoning onto that because they have to de-risk their lending as well, because the worst scenario for them is that they lend money to somebody and they can't meet up with the payments. And let's be honest, guys, like cost of living isn't going to be getting any better anytime soon. So following on from that first part, we've got coming off 2021, which UK finance calls a quite remarkable expectation bustling year. This was last year. The trade body says that pressure from rising inflation and increase in national insurance contributions from April will affect household balance sheets for the worse, particularly amongst lower income households who spend proportionally more of their income on essential items. So it really is just all about survival at the moment. And I don't know what the mortgage companies, can do either, because they're being, in our last podcast we were talking about, Dan, I feel really, not worried, but it's just like, what is the direction going to be with the interest rates? Because those monthly costs are going to be going up as well. So who is going to have, that extra disposable income to, at least just enjoy themselves, let alone, actually, to live and do things like that? And finally, on that report, it was said that regarding new mortgages, UK Finance adds that the interest rate rises seen in December 2021 and February this year, 2022, will place upward pressure on rates, although it concedes that volatility in money and bond markets makes the precise path of longer lending interest rates hard to predict. And there's no way that the bank is not going to increase rates between now and December. It's going to have to go up at some point, because we knew we were going to have to pay the the bill for the pandemic. But it's what's going on politically at the moment. Is that just bad timing? But it's happening and people are feeling the pinch. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, massively. And I think what this reiterates is, and something that, again, we are not financial advisors, but just always seek financial professional advice wherever you need it. But I think this just really emphasises to me the importance of fixing a rate now. Yeah. Trying to fix any rates you've got for as long as you possibly can. You'll know what you're paying, because if any variable rates could be going up considerably in the next couple of months. So just trying to go through your I'm a true believer of literally fine-tooth comb, getting your statements for the last 2 months. Get your bank statements for the last 2 months. Get a little spreadsheet. Piece of paper, simple as that. Simple piece of paper. Every cost you've had that is a consistent outgoing, list it. Work out what exactly your outgoings are every single month. And wherever you possibly can, try and keep it to that. If there's a variable rate anywhere, your energy bills, if you're on a variable tariff, get that fixed as soon as you possibly can, because as you said, they're going up. And that's what else can you do? What else can you do other than trying to find another way to increase your income? Yeah. Which again, we can. Property is a great option, and there are very creative strategies out there that you can get control of properties without having to physically purchase it and make some income there. But to the standard people in the county, they are just going to be worried sick, and I completely appreciate and empathise with that.
Absolutely, it's good advice. Yeah, you don't have to be sort of rocket scientist to start fixing in things, not just your mortgage, but everybody, including myself, had the letters coming in for the utility providers that bills are going up 54%. This was set by Ofgem on the 1st of April. Will you be mad not to get yourself 12-month fixed, because the rates definitely aren't going to be going down, so you're not going to be missing out by staying on a variable, that's for sure. So, and talking of rates as well, I always try to do my homework. I get a lot of my stuff, our stuff, if you like, from mortgagestrategy.co.uk. They have all the latest rates and things like that, so you can check them out on mortgagestrategy.co.uk. But headline 2 this week then, weekly rate watch, majority of fixes rise. Funny that we were just talking about it, Dan. Most average fixed rates rose last week according to new data from Moneyfacts. The average rate for a 2-year fix went up by 5 points. This is to 2.75%, and the average rate for a 3-year fixed ticked up by 2 basis points, and that has gone up there to 2.76%. So even just from a month ago, rates are going up by almost 1%. Because I remember that we were talking about the 1.94s in previous podcasts. That was just a couple of months ago, but it's very, very shaky at the moment. So even more of a reason to get those fixed. And the second point on here was, meanwhile, the average rate for a 5-year fixed increased by 3 basis points, so 2.94%. That's, even on a 5-year fixed. And the average rate for a 10-year fixed bucked the trend, dipping by 1 basis point to 2.87%. And I don't know, I speak for myself here, but I think if I could get a 10-year fixed at 2.87%, I think I would be very tempted. What about you, Dan?
I'll bite the hand off.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You were, for sure. And the banks were not the only lenders to increase rates this week, with Progressive Building Society increasing selected fixed rates by up to 1.26%. Scottish Building Society increased rates by up to 0.70%, and West Brom Building Society increased rates by up to 0.55%. So it's clear to see from these dominating increases that the market pricing is moving in one direction. So can't stress it enough, and this is the best advice, isn't it, that we can say, just start looking at those fixed and get it tied in ASAP.
Tie in, definitely. Well, thank you for that. And what this really reiterates is just look at your expenses, look at your outgoings, look at your incomes. What can you maybe save on, cut back on, fix, just to give yourself that bit more security and peace of mind.
I wonder when people will be having their sort of annual reviews at work, where they're going to be going, I think my performance is pretty good this year. How about we join everybody else in the world and have a increase in salary? Yeah. I think, people are going to be asking those questions as, cost of living, who does that bill, come with? Especially I was thinking about this the other day, if you're sort of doing HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, and you as the landlord are paying the bills, with all the rates going up, it's going one way, it's going to be passed to who? The tenant.
Exactly that. So there's only one person that's going to be taking the real hit there, and that is also the landlord will take a sum of it for the short term, but as and when there's turnover, they're bound to increase those rates, those
Absolutely.
rents.
Yep.
Right, so conscious of time, so we are going to move on to now our property picks of the week. So this is the part where Dan, myself, will pick out a commercial property that's caught my eye this week, and then James will pick a residential property. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can see these properties on Rightmove in real time, which we'll go through in a moment. If you are listening, you can access the links to these properties on the show notes, so you can have a little gander yourselves. So the property that caught my eye is here. It's number 18 Castle Street in Truro. It is currently some commercial offices, and the aim is that the offices are no longer wanted or needed. And I see this as a real good option here, real potential to turn this into residential. And again, get some more housing for the Cornwall market. So as we know, offices are going to more purpose-built spaces now. They're Lemon Street, for example, in Truro, beautiful, historic, famous street. Yet there are so many empty buildings on that street, and it's mainly because they're no longer needed or wanted as offices. So where are these offices going? I know I was having we spoke to a few commercial businesses on that street who have been using the properties, and they're actually all moving out to more purpose-built facilities because parking's better, the rates are cheaper, and it's easier access to the rest of Cornwall. So sadly, that means that there's a lot of empty places and buildings in Truro, for example, in this instance. And here is another one that, so as the offices move away and the businesses move out, it's going to leave an empty property. And I can't see many more businesses wanting to take this on. So this is, for me, is a great opportunity here to bring some residential to the market. So if I flick through a few of the photos, you can see it's a nice one. It was obviously back in the day a residential property which has been converted to commercial, but it could be so easily, it's in really good condition, could be so easily converted back. The things you'll have to think about with that change of use will be updating the regulations. They'll want to see SAP, and with regards to SAP, it stands for a Standard Assessment Procedure, but it's basically energy efficiency. These sort of things need to be looked at. But again, it's up with Miller Commercial. It's on for £225,000, and it's I think it's a good space. Floor plan here as well. Check that up while you just tell us your thoughts, James.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's come from its original origin, which would have been a house once upon a time. So there's no reason why it can't work as a house again. But I think, as you've just said, it's in very good condition. So apart from the obvious a few upgrades here and there, I don't think you're going to be needing huge amounts of conversion costs to do this. I think because it looks so new inside, and actually a very nice office. I'd be very happy if I was, running the podcast from there as well.
Yeah,
I think you're looking at that lovely. It looks like LVT flooring, I think, in that you could probably keep some of that, if not all of it. And yeah, there's not a huge amount to do. Just a bit of restructuring, a few stud walls put up, but I think it wouldn't be too much of a challenging property development there.
It could be a good opportunity, to be fair. So what's the guide price? 225,000. Well, Truro, good area of Truro. 1-bed apartments, 1-bed flats. Probably looking at 160,000 generally. Pretty safe, I'd say that number is. Well, if you could turn this into 2 apartments, you've got, at the minute, if you look at the description, you've got a property is currently configured, provides office accommodation on both floors. Each floor has its own access. So with that in mind, it's got its own kitchen and WC. The property can be occupied in whole or on individual basis on each floor. So again, it could be an opportunity there to split it into 2 flats, perhaps, if the square meter coverage allows. But if you look on the floor plan there, you can see the existing first floor plan, so you can see how it's split into the office space, and then there's a proposed first floor plan with how that office space could be converted to living accommodation. So again, not a big amount of work, could be really easily done. So I honestly do think this could be a good opportunity for someone, really. Absolutely.
Yeah, good find there, Dan.
So, James, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so I've got quite an interesting property, a Victorian 4-bed property that's located in Penzance. It's currently on the market at 168,200, quite a specific amount there, but for the viewers that are having a look at some of these pictures, this, according to the agent, has been empty now for almost 3 years. And I don't know where it's kind of come from, but it looks very, very sad. It does need a lot of work. It's currently at the EPC rating of an E, and it is going to need a full renovation. But, I probably wouldn't say that this is one for the first-time developer, because it really does need a lot. But I think you're going to be needing a few skips to do the rip out here. I mean, whether it's a hoarding history or quite possibly someone may have passed away, unfortunately, a couple of years ago. I didn't sort of get too much, but I just know that it has been empty, like I say, for 3 years. And these are the types of properties that we're just, we're trying to, shout out to people, aren't we, Dan? Because we want them to, take them over and, although it's full with stuff, we don't want it full with stuff. We want it full with people.
It's a beautiful building. Over 4 floors. If you look if you're watching now on YouTube, or if you're not, have a look on the link. But there's the floor plan is really, really good actually. So you've got a lower ground floor, so I'd say it's like a basement sort of underground, but there is light. So again, some really good space there. This could potentially be a couple of flats as well to up the number of units here. But yeah, this is a beautiful property, but it's quite sad to see the condition and how it's been left. There's a lot of stuff
put in there, but as we all know, you get a few skips out the front. You can soon get that gone, and from what I see, always get proper surveys done. But the property looks in fairly good condition externally. The roof looks good, the dormer looks good, and it's got that sort of, I love Victorian properties anyway, but this is my sort of favourite Cornish Victorian properties, which are just so nice with that granite front there. But it's a fairly extensive refurb, I'm not going to lie, but there's definitely a value to be added here. I think you could easily be looking at, north of £250,000 once done. But yeah, and it's an ended terrace as well, which is always going to add value there. But it would make a perfect family home for sure.
Definitely. And just to reiterate, so this is currently on, at the moment, it is at... Well, it seems like people are calling up to bid. This seems like an interesting one, actually. It's a bid to purchase. So the reason I think the price is so random is because it says here, auction time left. There's 9 days left. So it's an online auction for this property. It's on with Bradley's in Penzance. And I guess you've got 9 days left, and they're just obviously trying to get the best possible price.
Best and final, yeah, that's it.
Interesting stuff. Great picks. So they are our picks of the week. So hopefully that gives people a bit of an insight on how we look at properties and maybe how you guys could help, again, jump on one of those opportunities and bring some more accommodation back to the Cornwall market, because there are opportunities out there. And as we've just gone through, those numbers could stack well, actually, for any sort of investment.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's got, it's huge scope there for sure.
Brilliant. So, guys, thank you so much once again for your time, for listening with us or watching with us. And please do like and subscribe. Give us any feedback you've got, ideally positive or constructive at least, and we'd really appreciate that, and get in touch. And people can get in touch by
going to cornwallpropertypodcast.com, scroll down to the bottom of the front page there, you can send us a message there. But as we always say, you can reach us on social media, on Facebook, and also sometimes I do forget to mention, you can always just email us at hello@cornwallpropertypodcast.com to either Dan or James. One of us will pick it up here at the team, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you've got or anything property related. Just let us know. We are here on the other end of the phone or computer.
We have got a very exciting podcast for you in a couple of weeks' time. We're looking to get that
recorded.
Can't
wait for this.
Yeah, so James and I are conscious that we talk a lot about our experience and our thoughts and our knowledge about property, but we are actually doing things in Cornwall ourselves. We are property developers, investors, and we have our own projects in Cornwall, and we are very proud to say that we are bringing homes to the Cornish market for locals to live in. So we are actually going to be recording one of the podcasts in the next couple of weeks live on location at one of our developments that we're just finishing in Mevagissey.
Yeah.
So James, myself, and Cornwall Channel will be there, and we will record. We'll give you guys a video tour, a little update on how it's all gone, and we'll look forward to doing that. Really excited.
Really excited about that one. I'm just fingers crossed we get good weather, because it's really worth showing you some of the wonderful balconies with sea views and all the other exciting things there. But if it rains, it rains. It's Cornwall.
That's it. Lovely. Well, thank you so much once again for your time. So bye from me.
Bye from me as well. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.